Terrific. Guys, you know what this means. You know what it's time for? It's first guess game!
First guess game.
What they said.
I've been so excited. I've been waiting for this for millennia. All right, Zarian. So the first question of the first guess game is how did you get into wrestling? And after all these years, why do you still grown men who don't wear pants fight for a championship? They can't call them belts anymore.
See, I wish my story was like I turned it on and I was watching, but mine is like really complicated. My grandfather was a pro bodybuilder, and
it all makes sense now.
He used to work out with Bruno.
What?
So that was, and then my father was into wrestling because of that. My father was a bodybuilder too, but that was my weird intro to, I guess, my family liking pro wrestling. But my dad was a big fan, and he took me to the Garden. I think it was SummerSlam '91, and that was the moment it became a thing for me.
That was the one. Damn, that is not what I expected.
Yeah,
I thought it was gonna be more like me. You played SmackDown versus Raw 2008. Next thing you know, you're watching SmackDown every Friday.
No.
Well, not every wrestling fan started like you.
Well, you know what? Maybe they should. Maybe they should.
But that is how a lot of wrestling fans started. They started with the games. I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I'm 35. So
No Mercy.
Yeah, everybody was No Mercy.
No Mercy was the jump off.
Yo, No Mercy was the shit. I love that game.
It still might be the greatest wrestling game of all time.
I'm gonna stick by SmackDown vs. Raw 2008
We need
with
to play
Bobby
No
Lashley,
Mercy.
John Cena, and Undertaker on the cover. Who would know? 12 years later,
Sounds like the worst game ever.
No, it was
the worst
awesome.
cover.
It was awesome. You have a flip phone and Teddy Long's a general manager and he goes holler at you. I love it. It was amazing. All right, so second question of the first guess game. Who is your all-time favorite wrestler?
That's so hard. You
I
know
that's why I asked it.
Mine's
Tommy Dreamer.
Do you curse on the show, by the way?
Absolutely.
Okay. I want to be an asshole and say Hogan. Because that's what I grew up with.
Vicky, cover your ears.
I really want to say Hogan because like that's what you grew up with, and that was like your intro to pro wrestling. But if I'm gonna be honest, it's probably Shawn Michaels.
Okay. Wait. Secondary question. Pre eye droop or post eye droop?
I'm talking sexy boy Shawn Michaels. It had to have been a really confusing time for my mother when I'm watching WWF Superstars or Wrestling Challenge and I'm jumping on the couch screaming, "I'm a sexy boy," and I'm singing the song over and over again. And I had those. Remember those ridiculous John Lennon glasses that Shawn used to wear? Yes. I had those too, and I'm doing like the. It says so much about me. I would do the dance on the couch, and I would do the pelvic thrust that Rick Rude would do.
Oh my god!
And my mother would stand there, and her friends would be over there having coffee, and there's just me acting like a lunatic, screaming, "I'm a sexy boy" at 10 o'clock in the morning. In my
now I know why you drink at 10 a.m.
That's one of the reasons.
All right, Shawn Michaels, guys. I think Shawn Michaels is in the lead for the most times people have chosen him as his favorite wrestler.
Yeah, he's just a sexy boy.
I mean, he is your wrestler's. He is your favorite wrestler's favorite wrestler. Tommy Dreamer would say Shawn Michaels is his favorite wrestler. So your favorite wrestler currently, and tell me why it's Treehouse Vince.
It has to be Treehouse Vince, yeah. Because I go to his treehouse and he does things to me that are not mentionable in a public forum. It has
touch you in inappropriate places.
Yeah, you've heard the stories, I'm guessing. He makes me do weird things, like put on like old tighty whities and walk around and oil up and make me like flex. We read old muscle mags together. I have to say, current probably Kenny Omega. I'm really into it. I have to say it's Kenny Omega.
You just became David's best friend.
Yeah, right.
You're my boy, Zarian.
That's
my boy.
it.
All right, I'm gonna add one additional question. Zarian, can you please do a Vince McMahon impression?
God damn it, pal.
Love it. Perfect. Amazing. All right. Look
at those pecs.
Your favorite match of all time. This is another really tough one, but
that is so. I can tell you my first favorite match.
Your first favorite match. This is interesting.
While I stall, so I can figure out what my favorite match of all time is. My first favorite match was Perfect and Bret Hart SummerSlam '91 because that. Back to my first wrestling show, that was the one that I said, "Holy crap, this is really good." Because up until then, you know, Ultimate Warrior coming and shaking the ropes, and Hogan just flexing, But I had never seen an actual wrestling match, but it stayed in my mind. So I would have to say that's probably the one from my childhood, early childhood, and then currently I have to do go with the Dave Meltzer pick of the century, and that's Omega Okada at Dominion.
Jesus Christ, you really love this Omega character.
Like Kenny Omega is a blessing to wrestling fans everywhere. You just haven't seen his greatness yet.
But you know what it is? It's like a little bit of a loaded question, right? Because what's the greatest pro wrestling match I've seen? Probably that. My favorite. I mean, it could be something stupid like. Actually, I have a good ECW match. My favorite ECW match is Sabu and RVD versus Hayabusa and Shinsaki. Heatwave 98.
Hayabusa, that's
Heatwave 98. I'll get there in 2 years.
so 4 years will time.
Yeah, 4 years in tap time. So Zarian, one thing I'm doing for our Patreon is I'm going back through the Monday Night Wars month by month.
Okay.
And going so each week I'm doing WCW, WWF, and then ECW. And so the first week will be the fucking undercard, which is the shittiest one of the month, then midcard and main event. And I've already watched all of 96 and all of 97, so I have to go back.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah,
it's rough. It's rough.
It's a little rough because WCW and WWF in early 96 is hard to watch. But ECW is fucking amazing.
I used to go to all of them. I mean, I remember going to the Elks Slash to see this insanity, and it really was. I remember going. My first ECW show was in Fort Lauderdale. My cousin took me. Shit. And I was like smartened up for like a idiot teenager, you know, but I was like, holy shit, this is real. They're killing each other. You know, like.
All right. Next question. If you were a wrestler, what's your finisher?
I know exactly what it is. I spin you around, I poke you in the eye, and then I kiss your nose.
What?
What do you call that?
The Zarian special.
The Zarian. Yeah. I would call it the Zarian Spinneroonie.
The Zarian Spinneroonie.
The Kissarooney. The Kissarooney.
There you go.
No, you know what? If I have to legitimately go one, I would go basic. I would go with a DDT. I would go like a Raven style DDT.
Ooh, an even flow DDT.
Yeah.
All right. Respect. So final question. How did you get into podcasting? That's not a question I can ask many of our guests. That's actually false. I can ask that to most of our guests. But how did you, someone who's been in it for so long and so successful, how did you get into podcasting?
I thought, first of all, I thought your question was going to be how big is Batista's dick? I thought that was going to be your
bonus round.
Bonus round.
Okay. I was a big radio fan growing up, and I listened. Obviously, I'm from New York, so I listen to Howard every morning. Yeah. I listened to Howard. I listened to Opie and Anthony. I was into technology stuff. So I got laid off from my IT job in 2009. So it's going to be my 10th year of doing this. I got laid off, and my buddy was a stand-up comic. So he's like, "Hey, you want to do this podcast thing?" And I had no idea. I mean, I had heard of it, but I didn't know, what to do.
In 2009, nobody was doing podcasts.
Probably early 2009. Yeah, probably like January 2009, we started planning on doing it. And we were working on it. We were working on a script, and it was very different. I wasn't doing pro wrestling or anything. I was doing more like I was doing like a shock jock style bullshit,
Yeah.
So like, what do we call it? I'm like, I don't know. We're guys from Queens, so why don't we call it Guys from Queens? So that's how the name came about.
Oh, okay.
I never went back to work because I started doing the show, and it kind of consumed me. And I had a couple bucks saved from the stock market, and I was fine. I wasn't too worried about going and getting another job at the time. And within like 6 months, we got a following because I don't know if you guys remember Stickam. It was a live streaming site. They had lost their like top guy that was a tech guy. His name was Lee Laporte. They had lost him because he no longer was streaming on there. So they asked me, and they threw me like $20,000. And they're like, "Do you want to stream on here?" I'm like, "Yeah, you got it." And that's how it started. They just gave me money, and I started streaming on there. And back then, it was really easy to get a lot of viewers because they would give me front page exposure. So I was getting like a day, like 30,000 viewers a day. It was nuts. I mean, it was really crazy stuff. But again, it was bullshit viewers. It was unaccounted. It was all weird how they counted viewers. But it gave me a nice boost. And the thing that set me off and set my career, I did a LifeCam Cinema. Microsoft webcam review, and that blew me up. That was the moment that I had like
a Microsoft webcam review.
Yep, that's all it was, and then it catapulted everything into what I'm doing now.
What was it? You did a review of Microsoft webcam, like that's what it was?
Yeah. I went to the store, and it was just being released, and I hadn't seen it anywhere. So I was looking for cameras for the studio, and I asked the guy, I'm like, how long has this thing been out? And he goes, oh, it just came out right now. And like, nobody has it. I'm like, I'm going to buy one. I bought it, did a quick review, like the shittiest review you could ever imagine. This is before like anybody knew what they were doing on YouTube. And within like 3 days, it had like 250,000 views.
That's nuts.
Yeah, and that was
Christ.
it. And I never made a dime off that video. That's the funny part of it. One of my most successful things. I never made a dime, but it kind of it kind of catapulted me between that and the live stuff I was doing to start building what I'm doing. And I've been doing Matt Men since 2013, and I've been doing What the Tech, which is my big show, since 2009. So it's 10 years of doing this.
How did you and Rich start Matt Men? How long have you known Rich?
21 years.
Jesus.
Yeah, we've known each other since we were, I guess, teenagers. So we actually met in karate school. We were like 13 years old.
I think I knew that.
Yeah. Yeah, we met in karate school, and everybody thinks like we've been lifelong friends. We hadn't spoken. We were friends for like a couple of years, and then we kind of drifted away. We hadn't spoken in like years. And he just messaged me one day. He's like, "Oh, I really like the podcast that you're doing." And then we just started talking. I'm like, "You want to do a wrestling one with me?" Because I realized that he's still into wrestling. So I think we started right after the pipe bomb, the CM Punk pipe bomb.
A lot of
Good
people
place to start.
Yeah, I think that's when we started. It was right around that time. So 2013.
All right, Zarian. Well, thank you so much for being here. Truly an inspiration for me for wanting to get into podcasting.
No. Don't let me inspire you to do anything, because I'm telling you right now, you know what it leads to? You drinking heavily every day.
He already does that.
And maybe taking a gimmick every now and then to kind of ease you. Okay.
Dave, put your fucking fingers down.
And he already got fired from an IT job. Earlier.
I got fired from my IT job. I just quit my job that I had. I had a very nice gig going on, and I just quit my job because I can't handle working for anybody anymore. So my life is kind of spiraled in many directions.
Well, I'm looking for work, in case you were wondering.
Yes, Will is still on Willy Welfare.
There's this thing called Willy Welfare. It's terrible. But guys, I said I wasn't going to ask, but fuck, I'm going to do it anyway. Are you team Slack or team fuck you Slack?
If he's anything like Deacon, I'm team fuck you Slack.
There we
go.
That counts.
There we
Ladies
go.
And
Gentlemen, that is the first guest game on the Kings of the Rings podcast.